And we are live. Good afternoon, alienated parents, grandparents, alienated children, doctors, lawyers, professionals, constituents out there. Please, please, thank you for joining us. And let's see more support out there on what we're doing here on Let's Talk Real Talk on parent alienation and domestic violence. This is worldwide. And we are, sorry, we are here with our special guest today, Meg Miller, stand for Meg from Kansas, USA. And Meg is a huge advocate right now because she is an alienated mom. And on January 29th, 2024, just 17 months ago, Meg lost custody of her 5 children. It's so devastating with no trial, no evidence, no voice. Now she's fighting back and pulling the curtains on the system that made it possible. Meg, mother, federal plaintiff, and founder of Stand with Meg, a growing national movement with over 62,000 followers across social platforms. This podcast exposes the abuse of power inside family courts, where parental rights are erased with due process. Actually, I think without due process.
Without due process.
Sorry. Yeah, it is. Sorry, it's my eyes, cataracts. I'm dealing with a lot due to family domestic violence as well. So real cases, real corruption, and real change. Because what happened to Meg is happening to thousands worldwide. And I have been hosting this program for 5 years now. And I have had so many targeted, alienated parents come out here, moms, dads, even grandparents, crying to see their children. Now, we should not go through justice system like this, and the justice system should not be taking our children, no matter what, without due process, evidence, and all that. And even when they do have evidence, they still condemn the loving parent. Meg Miller, thank you for coming on Let's Talk Real Talk on parental alienation and family domestic violence, enabled by the family court system. What you are doing out there is phenomenal. And please, tell us what you're dealing with, how you're dealing with it, and how your children, if you do get to see them, are dealing with this.
You know, what happened was I had a wonderful weekend with my children. My mother came and stayed the night. We made homemade popcorn, dragon hair, which is an annoying sugary thing, but we had a ball. We had sleepovers. I had probably extra 10 kids sleeping over, and they're sneaking in my bed and snuggling with me. And then Monday morning for school, I got them all ready for school. And that was it. My son was like, "Are you going to get off work so you can come to my basketball game?" I'm like, "Yep, I'll be there." My twins were, "Mom, we got to work on the school project that's due Wednesday." And I'm like, "All right, we got this." And then I dropped him off. And the first time my son didn't kiss me on the cheek goodbye. He always has to. And that was it. I found out at 11 a.m. that we had a hearing around 2 or 3, if I remember correctly. And then I got to court and they read the most horrible lies about me that I can't believe. And that was it. Never saw them again. No contact, no phone calls, nothing. I had to put all their belongings, everything they have, on the front porch of my home so their stepmother could come get them, their stuff. And I didn't even have access to talk to them until December 23rd. So January 29th to December 23rd was the first time I got to even speak to my children. 11 months.
11 months.
And I didn't even get to speak to all of them because at that point, the 2 older ones, were completely brainwashed, convinced.
And how did all this come about? Like all of a sudden, just out of the blue, was there any kind of clue for you?
So my case is a little bit different than a lot of others. I was pregnant with my twins, and my husband at the time left me, and so we went through a 3.5-year divorce process, and I had 3 kids in 1 year. So when he left, I had newborn twins. I had a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old. and I was a mom all by myself. I had 4 in diapers. And so then we went through a 3.5-year horrible fight divorce. My ex is a millionaire, and he is a big Christian mortgage guy in our area. But after that, I had a very old school judge, and he saw the truth. After 6 full days of trial, he saw the truth and gave me 80%. Because at that time I had so many little kids, and their father lived an hour away, and he chose to go on vacations and go do things instead of provide for his children. I was featured on GoFundMe a few times because I had no money for food. I went from $1 million home to food stamps within a few months, all because he chose to want to go online and find women. So with that, but right after that, he took me to court still. So I've been in court for 12 years, even though I have a solid 30-page divorce decree that proved the abuse, proved him trying to alienate me from my children and make up lies. And the judge made a really solid divorce decree, but then he took me to court again in a different state. And so I've been in here for 12 years now. So by the time the children were 10 and up, so I had the kids 10 years straight for 80% of the time. He would cancel a lot when you did get to see them. But I finally was so tired of being in court, I said, I'll just give you 50-50. I was thinking if I gave him 50-50, he'd stop. The kids are older. He moved closer in the same town. So it was less, traumatizing to go an hour to go to school in the morning, And so I gave him 50-50. And then I had no idea behind my back, he was manipulating the therapist. He did 69 sessions with the kid's court-appointed therapist, violating the order, meeting with her and his wife did, and telling them horrible lies. And I found this out just, last year after I took my kids. So he and the GAL in my case as well, he hates women. He's quoted, I think all women are batshit crazy. So I finally got to get a full-time job for the first time because I had so many kids and so just me. And I didn't know that he was doing this. So yeah, that's why I just kind of was like, what in the world is going on? I just finally got our dream home that my kids begged for, worked hard for, so they can go to a certain school district. We just moved in, only there 6 months, and then they were gone.
That's, I could relate to you because I hate to say it. All we had to do was change our ex-husband's names. I had the same one, but mine was a soldier, and he was gone 6 to 12 months on his job. But when he came home, he still excused himself, went somewhere else for 2-3 months while, until the next maneuver, just to stay away from the children because he even said it all their lives. I hate babies. Well, if you hate babies, why are you having kids? Why are you being so abusive to me? Like, I had to deal with forced sex. My children had to be conceived through force. This was power control. And I understand where you're coming from because this is how they take your house. They leave you homeless, penniless, supportless, childless. They want you dead. They want to make you sick. I mean, like right now, heart monitor, because I still know I've been alienated for 20 years. My kids are adults. I just found out I have grandchildren. So now I get to fight for my grandchildren that I haven't seen. I don't even know how old they are. And my kids are in their late 30s. So how old are my grandchildren? I got 2 grandbaby boys. And my ex-husband gets to see them with his mistress. He had the affair, not me.
Exactly.
And when I mentioned all that to the courts, they didn't care. They didn't care what he did as long as he kept putting in false allegations so that I could prove myself. And you cannot prove false allegations. The only thing you could prove is the truth. Right? So, but these court judges, they really don't care because when I did have all the evidence, the judge compared his fake evidence to my real evidence and say, hey, you guys got the same amount, but you're a conniving, scheming, manipulative liar, and I have no doubt you set your wife up, but you get the house and kids. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute here. I raised these kids for 20 years.
Right.
20 years. I had children. I raised them. And then you give him the kids for me never to see them. So the judge alienated me from my kids with help, with false allegations, police
Right.
calls, false arrests. It goes
Right.
on and on. So were you ever accused of arrest, or not accused, but threatened with arrests? And I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
you have?
Oh, yes. And that's the funny thing about my situation is CPS came back saying I didn't do any of those accusations, and the court didn't care. And then the police were involved, and they said it was not true. But they still don't care. I haven't even. No one's even the GAL and the therapists haven't even questioned me if those accusations are true at all. I haven't been able to do any of that. So, and then I'm stuck in temporary, I call it temporary land, where it feels like you're in candy land. You know, you're going up a thing and all of a sudden nope, you can't appeal this. You can't get trial. Go back down. Oh, I think I'm going to have trial or hearing. Nope, go back down. And so I can't even go to appellate court because it's stuck in a temporary land. And I'm missing all of my kids' everything. I don't know
Well,
their schedules. I don't know anything about them. I guess my daughter had surgery. I know nothing. I went from a full-time, 100% involved mother. I never chose a man over them. I didn't want to have a man come in the home. I wanted it to just be us, so I didn't have to, deal with the, blending families. So I gave my kids my everything, and it can happen to anybody.
it can happen to anybody. Doctors, lawyers, judges. My own doctor was alienated from his children a week after I was.
Mm-hmm.
And police came knocking on his door to have him arrested because his wife was my doctor, my children's doctor, who set up
Wow.
for me to be arrested with my ex-husband because he made my daughter cry to the doctor saying I abused her. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking, what? Why are you taking her to the lady doctor? I mean, this is something that, I set up with my girls so I could be there. And the lady doctor wouldn't let me even in the room with my daughters when I took them. Why are you letting, you know? So I knew it was a setup. But a week later, when I heard my doctor, she did it to him and took his 3 kids. He hasn't seen them either in 20 years. And, you could see the setups that
Mm-hmm.
goes around it all. They
Mm-hmm.
use doctors, they use, therapists, like,
and they're all together and they all use the same actors. And so if you have that attorney that's with those actors, your trial's already done even before you get there.
that's right. You got no hope in hell. And, all these people that go pro se, I advise them to make sure you have a lawyer behind you to do all your paperwork. You submit everything to them to go that unbundled package to make sure you got your
Ducks in a row. No, I went pro
yeah.
se after all of this. And that's what, my mother paid $10,000 for an attorney right at when my kids were taken, and she did nothing and left within a month because I went on private Facebook and I told my friends what was going on, and my ex logged into my Facebook and saw it and then told the courts that I was telling my story online, and I wasn't. It was private. So then my attorney pulled out, took the whole retainer fee. But then after I started learning the law this last year, she had 14 days to appeal it. She didn't do that. Why did the attorney not appeal it and not demand a quick trial? So, that's why I have learned the law. I have 2 federal lawsuits within our federal, on our federal courts. I have a GAL, I'm suing him, and another one's coming in. But, the best thing parents can actually do is learn their rights. And when you learn your rights and you tell them that's not true, you can't do that, they start backing down because they're so used to attorneys working together and telling you lies that aren't true. Oh, you need to be quiet. You can't do that. Oh, no, I can. So I have a big gag order on. But guess what? I'm talking about my federal lawsuits.
Well, yeah, what can they do really other than, put you behind bars?
For talking. I mean, they tried to hold me in contempt of court. They try
Me
to hold
too.
right, and but they try to put me in jail because they said I put perfume all over my kids' belongings on the front porch. I didn't, and then the fact that they found my kids found love letters in their stuff. Well, they had Bibles in there. They had everything. You don't think my kids kept my love letters that I've always written them? And they
Well,
think,
that's it.
right. And so, and then that was it. So, but that is what I found. I found in my county, just in my county, I found over 6 other women like me lost their children the same way, with the same GAL, with the same attorney, you name it, and judge. The corruption is sick. And I believe some counties are, against men maybe. But I know, like my ex's attorney, she has over 60 cases with my judge, and all her clients are men. And she takes all the women away, from all the kids away from the women. Why is that, you ask? That's because more money. When you take a good parent away from children, guess what? We're not going to stop fighting. We will go bankrupt, broke, homeless, living in our cars just to fight for our children. But a bad parent won't. So that's the money.
And that's why the courts are making so much money. Last year was $55 billion between the US and Canada. Like, this is getting insane. And, and then these politicians are bragging about how they're putting $165,000 into hybrid hearings for the courts, which we are demanding just to turn the switch on the cameras because they're already installed, right? Well,
right.
Didn't I hear last week that, or I read that they put a squash on hybrid hearings because of all these viruses that are tapping into it? Well, why are they tapping into it? Because you guys are so corrupt, right?
Right.
If you weren't corrupt and made it so that the public can see how these judges are behaving, because half of them, I know you guys in the States, do you have to vote for them? Is it, or appoint them?
It depends on the state. Mine are voted in. So guess
They're
what?
voted in. Yeah.
Campaigning against this guy,
Well, that's it. So if the court, if the public sees that this guy's an asshole or this lady's an asshole, they're not going to vote them in. So this is why they're keeping the cameras away from us. But had they put cameras into these courtrooms, I know my ex-husband was alienated. He was 1 year old. 64, 65 years of family court corruption. I've seen it. I watched him go through it, because I met him when he was 18. And the first thing he wanted me to do was go to the family court with him so he could change his name to his new stepfather at 18, just so he'd stop abusing him. So I'm like, what? I didn't understand, but here I am now, a pro, because I've been dealing with it, helping people through the military that are alienated, because it's everywhere. It's not just us like civilians on Civvy Street. It's everywhere. It's military, because my ex was military. I mean, it's the government's making so much money because it's so corrupt, that our children are suffering. We all suffer. I mean, I'm suffering too, because I've had 4 children. One died of the Chernobyl, but she's passed. She's gone. I could grieve her. I can't grieve my alienated children because they're still alive. How do you grieve them? What am I supposed to do? Go get a pretend box and bury it? No. I want my children back. I want to see them. I want them to break free of the narcissistic brainwashing that they are dealt with. It's a cult-minded situation that these kids are into because they're scared to tell the other parent that they want to see us. And if the court gets a wind that they are seeing us behind their backs, these kids are going to be punished through the courts, by the parent, by the therapist. They're going to be punished by everybody. So these people need to just back off, step out of the way, and let the children come gracefully back to the other parent, because the other parent's always open-armed.
2 things you just said there. One was, I have an audio recording of my children. I picked them up from school, and all of a sudden they said, Mom, Dad's making us tell lies about you. And if we don't tell these lies about you, we're going to get in huge trouble. So I have proof. And they didn't like it. They said, we're so sorry, Mom. Secondly, Dave Wingle from the Family Court Fraud Warrior, he said that Elizabeth Weinstein's celebration on Friday, he said something really powerful that you just mentioned. He said, mourning the loss of a alienated or a child that's still living on this earth, you feel it every day. you can't heal because every day you wake up feeling like they're gone. There's no healing when they're still on this earth. My children live 5 minutes from here. I can't even go into my own town in fear of seeing them because they're told if they say hi to me, I'll go to jail. But that feel, no one understands that feeling of your kids still alive, still doing everything, but yet you cannot even talk to them.
That's right. It's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. How old are your children?
So I have a 17-year-old daughter. My son just turned 15. My other son just turned 13, and my twins are about to turn 12.
Wow. So they're still quite young.
Yeah.
And the longer you're alienated, the more they're going to be sucked into this evil horde lies. And, the lies will get, or actually the comments will get worse and worse and worse to you.
Well, I will say I got my children for 80% for 10 years. So I know they have a solid foundation and they know the truth. And not many parents get that. A lot of parents get them taken at 3 or 2 or babies, right? I'm glad I have that foundation for my children. But you have to also realize when there's a strong parent that wants to take away, 2 parents, because my ex's wife is part of the problem too. When we have 2 people trying to push a woman out or a parent out and to replace, the kids feel safer aligning with the parents that are actually bashing the good parent. Because why? They know their good parent will always unconditionally love them. And the peace that my kids probably feel now because they don't have to hear all these horrible lies about me. I mean, they still do, but they don't have to hear it every day, every time they come back from moms or dads,
Right.
And that is what they say children will align with the abuser just to get some peace.
Yes. Yes. I know I had to. I was an alienated daughter. I know the routine. I was an alienated spouse because he took me across the world never to see my family. But
Right.
I mean, if you can be one step ahead of them, you can make it. The fact of it was that I was getting sick, not sick, I was disabled. And he didn't like that because I wasn't serving him anymore. I wasn't cooking for him, cleaning for him. I had a cook, a cleaner, a service to drive the kids around. So I got to sit at home. But his comments were, no wife of mine's going to sit at home eating bonbons. I wasn't eating bonbons. I was in a serious car accident. I was healing. He didn't want me to heal. Why? Because he had an affair for 3 years under my nose, and waiting for the money to come in from my accident so that him and his mistress could use it. I mean, don't people see the patterns in their lives? And,
Right.
and I caught on to it. So I went to get help. But when I got help, it was too late because I kept silent all those years. And it's not that I kept silent. I didn't argue. I just walked away and not thinking that this guy's setting me up for life. Because when the kids were born after that, because he used to say, if you leave me, I will kill myself. That was the way to keep me there, right?
Oh, that's what my ex did. My ex would purposely get me pregnant when I told him I was leaving.
Mine too. So whenever I not refused, I didn't have time. I was raising kids, so
Yeah.
they force you to have sex and you're pregnant. And when I was pregnant, he said, oh, you better get rid of it. So like, damned if you do and damned if you don't. I mean, what do you do? And there was no way I was going to let him kill another child. I mean,
Right.
it was bad enough he didn't want the first one.
Right.
But, and then by the 4th one, he literally said abort it at 8 months because the doctors thought she had cystic fibrosis and thought they were going to terminate the pregnancy before she was born. And I'm going, no, you're not. You already took one. You're not going to do this again. And he rejected that child. Now that child at 35 is begging for his attention because she knew she was being rejected from the moment before she was conceived. And they do know, they feel it because now she blames me, saying I'm the one that kept her from her sister and her brother, and that's why they hate her because I treated her differently. Whoa. No, I treated you all the same. You're all my 3 kids. He did the exact same thing. It was, the alienating parent puts all these tactics into their heads to hurt
Mm-hmm.
you, right?
Absolutely. And that's
So,
where have you ever watched the movie Just Ask My Children?
no.
I don't know if you guys have Amazon movies there, but I know it's on Amazon. But look it up. It's called Just Ask My Children, and it's an older movie and it's a lower budget movie, but it's a true story. The parents, married people, were in prison for 15 years because of a neighbor down the street woman. They're going through divorce, blamed this family for sex stuff, and the point of the movie is that these two children had a wonderful parents, loving home, and they got convinced by therapists, by the police, that their parents were actually doing sex parties with these boys. And
Oh,
these
wow.
parents went to prison for 15 years because of it. And now when the boys became adults, they said no, and they kind of got clearer heads. No, and they got out. And now they live in Arizona. I just looked them up on Facebook. They're private, but I looked them up. They're grandparents, they got grandkids, but they had lost 15 years of their life because of these people convincing these children. Well, if so many people try to convince a child that their parent, that's evidence right there. And my situation is my divorce decree states that my ex is a nanny at the time, now wife, could not be my kid's caregiver. In my divorce decree, it says Shelly Bland cannot be my kid's caregiver because we have a 45-minute interview, chest cop interview, where she is telling her friend that's a cop, all I want you to do is get her arrested and put her in jail so I can take her twins and peace on, peace out. And it's a 45-minute video of her trying to tell every cop in my town how horrible, crazy woman I am. I got charged
Wow.
that day. No one questioned me. Got charged. I hit her during an exchange. No, I've never touched this woman. Anyway, my divorce decree states all this. My divorce decree states my ex's abuser and how he left me high and dry to go vacation and buy furniture for his girlfriend. But guess what? The courts don't care about it.
They
And they
don't
won.
care.
They won. They got my kids after 10 years, 12 years. They got them. So, you know how many times I've heard people come up to me going before this happened, oh, are you the nanny? I said, no, I'm the mom. They're like, oh no, last week, whoever the kids were with, she went on and on about the story about these are her twins and her kids. And I'm like, no, they're mine. And so, right after my kids were taken, she was on Facebook trying to say that her children and her husband are moving to Arkansas.
Oh,
So, and courts don't care. Why aren't they looking at my divorce decree? So what's the point of a divorce decree? And I can say that millions of times.
oh, I'm sure you can. I mean, that's it's insane. These people are delusional, and I mean, I know how that feels too, because the mistress wrote a letter to my lawyer during the trial after 18 years alienated, telling me to stay away from, tell Mary to stay away from her kids. Her kids don't want to see her. Her kids are old enough to make up their own mind, and stay away from my family. Now, how did she get from Mary's kids to my family? Like,
Right.
did you're not even married to the ex. You're still his mistress after 23 years.
Right.
And, and once you read stuff like that, you could read into it to see their mentality, because she's craving to get married to the dude. And I mean, if you do, after going through my divorce, you're pretty stupid to go through, because you're going to go through the same thing once you're married, right?
Right.
And because the second I married the dude, I'm signing the register, and before the ink was dry, he says now that we're married, a wife can't testify against her husband. And the look on my face, and the camera guy took the greatest shot. Like, I'm stunned, like, to hear that, because I tried to run from him for 3 years prior,
Mm-hmm.
because he was a sexual abuser. He was violent. I didn't want him. And to be forced into marrying someone I could understand these arranged marriages and how these women are abused through the whole time. And if they leave too, they will get the same thing. You leave me, you'll never see the kids. You leave me, I'll throw acid in your face. If you leave me, I'll kill you. I mean, these,
Right.
you know, we're not the only ones that are dealing with this, and there are cultures that are that preys on this. And
Australia is really bad. I have a lot of people reach out to me from Australia. The UK is as well very hard, bad. Ireland is bad.
yeah,
And you know, it's funny because everyone's like, how did you grow so fast in a year? Because I didn't start my social media until 2 months after they were taken.
mm-hmm,
And I said, it's not me, the reason I've gotten big. The reason that I've gotten so many followers and is because this system is that sad and that bad. So many people are hurting. It's not me. It's to show. I mean, I went to legislators. I went to DC, drove there, slept in my car all by myself, and walked the halls of our Congress. And I talked to some big senators. And I said, look, the reason my platform has grown so much is because this is a silent epidemic and it needs to be addressed now. So that is, you know, we're getting louder though. I mean, I get on TikTok and all my platforms. I'm seeing more and more people pop up. When I first started this, there was hardly talking about it and their own story. They were probably talking about the system, but not like their story during it. And more people are getting out there. And I'm just so proud of everyone for getting loud. Do
yeah.
you see in Canada if they're getting louder there?
Oh my gosh, I opened my Facebook account in 2007 and I've been helping millions worldwide. And my platform was really, really huge. 2018, I got wiped out. Everything
Oh,
got wiped out. Hundreds and thousands of followers, people like groups and everything. So I started another one. And then I started my Parental Alienation page and I went worldwide and it was getting huge because I'm an entertainer as well. It helped me through dealing with all this. I
yes.
started playing a saxophone only because the ex wanted to play and he promised he would play but never played. So when I get divorced, I buy one and play. And doesn't he take me to trial because I played
Yes.
a saxophone? He wanted the money. And I'm thinking, what, dude? Are you serious? You want me? Because I'm playing? You took me to court for that? You should be
Right.
grateful that I'm living, right? But anyways, I did all these events for all alienated parents going through, suicides, murders, and everything through domestic violence. And my own brother got murdered. So I did 10 years of events. Beautiful picture. Facebook wiped it out again. Didn't they suspend me for 180 days in October? I'm waiting for those 180 days because I still can't get on. So I had to now open another. Well, this one was for my kids and I opened it to the public. My kids, I left a page just for them to contact me and stuff. And, you know, um, I gave them pictures and everything, but wow, they blocked it. So now I opened it and used it to do my shows again because I'm being banned everywhere. And, it's not fair because
Right.
I've had so many people out here. Like I had people from Malta, Spain, Africa, worldwide, Australia, doctors, lawyers. I mean, Dr. Jennifer Harmon. I Professor Sam Vaknin, Dr. Mark from Florida, he had the reunification therapy. I have Vernon Beckford, candidate of Court Watch. Oh, wow, my head's spinning. There was so many people, and it was all taken away. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking, okay, we're telling the truth. I'm telling the truth, but yet I have thousands of other people telling the truth. So why
Right.
is this still us being called liars? Why are these kids still trashing moms at 10, 11, 12 when I went through it 20 years ago and the kids are saying the exact same thing? We
Right.
show patterns of
Right.
abuse and yet
Right.
we're still ignored, you
Yep.
know, ignored to the fact that not ignored, we're being blocked now because they
Right.
know we're getting to people.
Right.
So I only have 10 people on my page now. Well, that 10 people will share it to a million people.
Yeah, I don't, and I support anybody that comes in and that's new. I share their stuff as much as I possibly can. I mean, even today, a mother put on an event on Facebook stating, "I have court on Friday. Anyone come?" And I shared that event, and I said, "Anyone that can join with her in Florida or at virtually, please go." And I can't do that to everybody, but I want everyone to grow. I want everybody to get tons of followers, so we can get louder and louder and louder. It's not about
Absolutely.
how many followers you have. It's about you, like you, exposing what's the truth.
Right. And no one, none of this men's group and women's group, because this is what the courts are doing. They're pitting the man and the woman up
Yes, the woman.
against each other. So
And
if
I want to make
fathers and mothers amalgamate into their groups, take a mother's group and add the father's group, because we are all the same. My
I
brothers,
agree.
I have 7 brothers who were same thing, alienated from my nieces and nephews. I haven't seen my niece in 19 years, and she finally shows up and posts on Facebook, "Well, I got to see my grandmother, and it's probably the last time I get to see her." Why? She's 93 years old. You should be visiting her every
Right.
so often. Don't ignore the grandparents. Don't
My
ignore
mother
the
hasn't. You should. There's a video of my mom walking into my house the first time after they were taken, and she's bawling. And she was there just the weekend before. And because I had to move out instantly because I couldn't afford the home because I took away my child support. But and she's bawling. My mom has it. My mom was so close to my children, and she still hasn't seen them either. So it's a lot,
yeah.
and it just ugh.
It's horrible because I have to deal with it too, because I go visit my mom once or twice a week, every week for decades, decades. I even brought my children. It was a regular routine. We see my mom, we see his mom. They were 2 miles apart, 2 miles. And yet his mother got to raise my kids after the judge took them away from me because he couldn't deal with them. But she never brought the kids to my mom. So every time I go, "Have you heard from your kids?" I had to start at that one point. I had to say, "No, I have not heard," because all I got were messages that me and grandma were the most abusive people in the world. And for me to go kill myself like I was intended to. I mean, how do you relay those kind of messages to your mother,
Right.
when she was good to these kids? And yet his mother was the one, "Oh, you don't beat them enough." And I'm thinking, what? I don't beat my kids at all. So here these kids are so contradicting in their stories. But when I read between the lines, and this is what I teach people when they give me their court documents, I read between the lines. You could literally hear the kids cry saying, "Help me, help me, help me." Because what? You think my dad brainwashed me? What? You think I'm a prostitute? Well, hey, read between the line. Yes, yes, and yes. I could see it. You're crying for help. "I'm not that party girl anymore." Well,
Right.
what is a party girl then? If you're
Right.
not, if you're not a prostitute, what is a party girl? So this is so hard to hear, to read, to see, to
Right.
know that a judge was so concerned about the 15-year-old because the father was not promoting the relationship with me. But he's so concerned. But why aren't you concerned about these kids 20 years later? Why aren't you seeing what you've done to these kids,
Right.
by alienating them, by taking them away? The mental health issues these kids are dealing with is
Oh yeah.
phenomenal, right? Because
Yeah.
they're all suffering. Um, their brains didn't grow at 15, 17, and 18. Not until they're like 25, they start getting a clue. By the
Well,
time
and
they're
you know what? There's a woman, I can't think of her name. She's a doctor on TikTok and Instagram. She's really well. She's actually a first therapist I've seen that is so tired of these children being told by therapists to just disown the parent. And I was like so excited to hear this because my mother had 9 children and 3 of them have done that to her, and I've never understood it. I would never do that to even if my father. I mean, you don't do that. So she's actually the first therapist. And I believe the therapists are now teaching adults to just walk away. That's not dealing with anything when you just walk away and move on. I'm sorry. And I can't quote everything she said, but she is amazing in that. And it's finally, but that's what they're doing. They're creating these children getting pulled away from their parents at a very young age, and even like teenagers like mine. And then now they have therapists saying, "Oh, that your dad's crazy, or that is so this and so that. No, I get it if there's a bit like physical real abuse that's been proven, but I'm not 80% of the time it's not. And a person that actually does abuse their child is not going to keep fighting for their child. They're going to be like, oh, great, now I can go out and go do this, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to give their whole life to a mission like you and I are, right? All I do every day is this: court, learning, helping every single day. I don't hang out with friends. I don't do anything besides my neighbors, maybe a little bit. But, and I am, thank goodness I live in my mom's Airbnb, but, I have a negative $200 bank account right now. I can't even buy food right now. And it's hard. And I had a good job, but how am I supposed to have a job when I don't have my children and I lost everything? I'm homeless pretty much. And then now I have to fight this battle alone because I don't have money for an attorney. And then my judge canceled my only hearing, 4-day hearing, because I didn't pay $13,000 to the GAL as a prepayment. It's a pay-to-play system, and it's wrong.
It is.
And this is why I'm thankful you brought me on here, but it just needs to, more people be more aware, and it needs to stop. And I do, every time somebody from Canada reaches out, I go, oh, so I can't wait for them to see that, because I've had so many Canadians, which I love, reach out to me. So.
But you're right there, because what they're doing is they're setting our children up to, when they have a partner, they're going to be alienating their children, so that the bank accounts at the courthouses are still going cha-ching, 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 because that child has learned how to be an alienating, abusive mother or father. No different. People, that's why I truly stress for everybody to get together, man or woman, because you've got children in the family that are girls and boys growing through the same stages. So there's going to be a daughter that's going to abuse a loving man. There's going to be a son.
Yeah, I support both parents, a good parent. Yeah.
So there's going to be a son, an alienated son, who's going to be abusing a beautiful, loving family mother or wife, right? So you could see they're going to be squeezing them in and knowing the tactics before it happens. And this is what the courts are doing. They're setting our kids up to be abusers. Mm-hmm. And they rather have the child be an abuser, because if they go missing, if they get raped and killed or whatever, no one's going to go home looking for them.
No.
Right? But we will not stop looking for them. I have a daughter living in Toronto, one in Montreal, and my son's in the Navy, but yet I can't go near them. And that's so sad, because boom, the police are there. Woo, woo, woo. For 18 years. But yet when I got my mug shots and everything, it took them till 2021 to send it to me to prove that I was innocent. So from 2005, all those years.
Right.
But in between, the police were still sent out. Woo, woo, I'm getting trying to be arrested again. It's like, wait a minute, I don't have any charges against me. And then the police will say, oh, you only got off on technicality. Well, technicality this. You didn't have any evidence, and you don't want to look stupid, so you're going to call it technicality?
Right, right.
And the thing is, half of these police are alienated from their kids, or they're alienating the spouses from their kids. They're abusive. We all know power and control. You're not going to be the kindest person when you go home. You're going to pound on your kid. You're going to pound on that wife. You're going to do everything you can. So here they are taking their frustrations out on us. And one of the officers that arrested me on breach, he was found, he sexually assaulted 3 women 6 years later and was charged. And he got to go to court. Did he get off on technicality? This is what.
Right.
Why is it okay for him to get off, but not me? Right. I don't understand how.
My ex has charges. He got charged and arrested for putting GPS on my car while there was a restraining order put in place by the state.
Wow.
He got charged with a felony, and it went down to misdemeanor. I have no background, nothing, and they can just take them. And that's what people need to really understand. Right now in America, in America and Canada, if you have a child at all, they could be gone. Doesn't matter.
Right out of school.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Right out of school. You're not even there. and you're waiting for the kid to come out of class at the end of the day and there's no kid.
Right.
That is devastating. And that's what, my kids, I had the principal accuse me of, I had it fully recorded,
Right.
accuse me of assaulting my daughter in the hallway. I never got to see my daughter.
Right.
Whose daughter was I assaulting? And it went
Right.
to court. So the judge banned me from going to the school at
Jeez.
15 and 17. I was a chair and vice chair for 12 years in my kids' schools as a CPTA mom. And, I did all the workshops and everything, worked closely with the teachers. They all love me. And here I'm barred from the school.
Right.
Like, wow, they really take you to the ground,
They do.
right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And so that's why I see a lot of angry dads, and they don't understand that us moms, we are the ones that birthed them to be
Right.
taken advantage of the same way they are. So, this is a fight. This is not a gender issue anymore, because that's what they wanted, a gender war against parents, so that we can blame each other.
Right.
It's just our partners. It's our partners that we have to blame, and the
Right.
courts that we deal with,
Of
right?
course. Yeah. I mean, you can't change crazy. You can't fix anybody. But our courts are not giving us due process, not at all. And they do not stand up for family unity. And that's the problem, because we can't sit here and try to fix any mental illnesses, but we should have the rights protected by our children.
Right.
Period.
Well, that Justice Taylor in one of the quotes stated that, why should I interrupt the status quo? Well, because you just caught him on lies.
Right.
They're 15, 17, and 18. They're not 2-year-olds. You could change the status quo and say, you know what, dude, 50-50. You have the kids for 2 weeks and they go to the mom. But
Yeah.
no.
I found even where, like, for instance, a boy that's 14, he wanted to go out and just smoke weed, and he got mad at his parents for not letting him, and he just called the police and said, Dad did this.
Yeah.
And now he gets to go do whatever he wants, right? And it's like, what? So,
Yeah. Well, that's
well, thank you so much for having me today. I'm going to have to run. We went a little bit over for
yeah, I
me.
forgot to mention that. Yeah, we hit the 30-minute mark and we're at 47 now.
I
Well,
know.
it was a pleasure to have you here on Let's Talk. We're going to change that bill with Robert Garza, the 3-strike rule. We're trying to get that into Canada again with Yanni Kuhn. So I'm hoping to have Robert and Yanni together on one of our podcasts so we could change this, bill for all these
We
parents that are
also
out there.
have Francesca is Amado. She
Yes.
does a federal. Have you heard of her?
Yes, I just saw that the other day.
Yeah, she has a federal bill. I just met with an organization yesterday about exposing that bill for her. I just talked to her this morning. And so it's awesome. Robert's doing the states, which is amazing. And she's doing the federal, which I just couldn't be more thankful for them fighting for it.
Yeah.
So.
And we're doing the province one here, Ontario. One, we're fighting so hard, but we want to go Canada wide for everybody out there, because Canada is spreading like wildfire too.
Yes.
It's horrible.
It's global.
Yeah. But thank you so much, Meg.
All
We
right. Well,
are
thank you, Mary, so much
honored
too.
to have you. Don't jump off yet. I just want to say thanks to all the viewers out there, alienated parents, children, grandparents, even aunts and uncles. If you feel that you have, been part of this war on our children, speak up, come share your story here on Let's Talk Real Talk. And, the more voices we have, the more we can get our politicians and everyone out there to really listen to us and finally end it, because there's other ways to make money. 3 strikes, you're out. The 3-strike law will still put money into the court system, and it will work better because our children won't have to suffer as much. But thank you, everyone out there. Until next time. Goodbye, Meg. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.